Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our holiday webinar. This is always a fun one. I'm excited for this class. I look forward to it every year. I'm going to take just a minute while everybody gets signed in and gets their volume on and gets settled to go over a few notes in case we have any new attendees. First of all, welcome. For those of you who have attended in the past, as always, welcome back. For those of you who are new, this is a Zoom webinar format. So if you have questions during this class, you will submit them via the Q&A box on your Zoom menu. Type those questions in, and I will be monitoring that. Peg will be taking questions during the class. Are we going to hold those questions mostly until the end, Peg?
I would prefer to do
Okay, I
that.
forgot to ask about that. And Peg did let me
If it's
know.
appropriate, if it seems appropriate to you, I don't mind a little interjection now and then,
Of course.
but I do want to cover, I got a lot of territory to cover.
Yes. Well, that's it. So Peg and I were talking before the class today, and she wants to make sure we cover everything. So we may go a little bit over our usual hour. So if you have to leave, that's totally fine. We're recording the webinar, and we'll be sending a link to view the recording tomorrow. So if you have to miss any of it, just look for that link tomorrow and you can finish it up. If you have any issues during the class, please feel free to let me know. I'm opening the chat right now so that you all can send me a message, and I will try and assist you the best I can. And I think that covers everything. Just for those of you who don't know Peg, I'm sure a lot of you do. Peg is one of our instructors. She works at our Fair Oaks store doing annuals. During Christmas, she does beautiful design of our brush greens and really is highly knowledgeable about this topic. So Peg, I'm going to let you get started. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, it is a very exciting time of year. I love it, and everybody loves the fresh greens. And I'm really here today to help you have those greens last throughout the season, and for some of them beyond even Christmas, okay? So we will be totally discussing fresh cut greens that are used in water or oasis or kept moist in some way, okay? Because particularly when you have greens inside the house, your houses are warm and they dry out very quickly. So we do get a lot of beautiful, beautiful fresh greens here at the garden centers, and we take really good care of them, okay? When they come into us, the stems are cut and they're put immediately into lukewarm water, okay? So they stay fresh when you take them home. I brought these greens up this morning so that I could show you during the program how I cut them so that I can utilize every possible piece of it, okay? Whether you're cutting things from your garden or you're buying them from the garden center, you want to make use of every piece possible. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But when I did that, I brought them up in a container with water in it because I don't like to leave them out of the water. And if you come into the garden center and you buy these, they are in water. So when you get home and you begin to use them, be sure you make a fresh cut of the ends of the stems and put them into your container. So conditioning greens is very important. If you're cutting from your own garden, then bring them in right away and let them soak for at least 2 hours in lukewarm water before you start to arrange with them. And again, if you buy them from the garden center, they have been conditioned, but be sure when you get them home that you put them into the water until you're ready to arrange with them. So let's show the first picture, Danny. Um, as far as yes, that's good. What is the little? Are they seeing the little green thing at the top? Okay. Yeah. Okay, fine. These I picked from my own garden, okay? And it's Pieris japonica, it's Nandina leaves, which are nice burgundy look right now. it's boxwood, it's a few other greens, okay? And these are ones that will condition well. There are a few greens out there that do not condition well, hemlock being one of them. So I don't really recommend the use of hemlock, okay? So it will come back to me, okay? Danny, yes. I'm going to show you first how I use a product called Oasis. This is a lightweight product that put into lukewarm water will absorb very quickly when it sinks down into the water and is thoroughly saturated. It's ready to use, okay? And I have used that to make a lovely table design, okay? But I have done this in a progressive number of containers so that you could see how I did it, okay? So the first one that I'll bring up, again, this is very heavy because it's wet oasis, but I'm going to hold it up as close as possible. You set the length that you want it to be with the end pieces, and you set the width with the side pieces and the height with the others. Those are the first pieces that I put into a container when I begin my arrangement, okay? Now, if I sit this down, I want to show you the importance of, I need to lift it. That's all right. Here, I can do this. Okay. Then I can do this. I'll sit it on top of this. All right. Now we go. Okay. You want to utilize your Oasis the best possible advantage. You don't want to overstuff it because you'll break it apart. Okay. These first pieces can go straight down into that. That's important. If you put it in this way, it's going to interfere with the other stems that you put in later. So this goes in deep inside and here. They're both approximately the same size. And so you're not going to get it out of balance. Until you learn to measure that, eyeball that if you wish, measure it, cut it. And these on the side go in the same way, okay? Down. See how I'm pushing down? Okay. Then I set the top. I did the same. Push it straight down in, okay? And if you measure these, you've got the same. So that is your framework. Okay, let's go to the next step that I do. I'm going to use this same green, junipers. A lot of the greens out there are useful for this purpose, okay? This one, again, is approximately the same length this way and this way. But now you can see that I have filled in. So this is the complete framework for my design. The first one that I showed you has the length set, the width set, the height set. Now I have begun to fill in. And you don't really want to exceed those first pieces or you'll get a little out of balance. Now, there are times when you do want to do that, but that's a part of a different kind of design. So some of these now that I've filled in with are shorter. And here again, rather than pushing in this way, it's pushed down. Controlling space for the next ones that go in. Then I've added to this. Let me show you before we go to the next step how I trim my greens. I absolutely love working with this green, but it is a heavy green, noble fir. I will probably go through and cut like so all of these pieces, and maybe that will be, I want to use every possible piece, even the little ones, okay? This will be a part of my major framework, okay? Here is what I do. This is really a big stem, and I don't want to interfere with it tearing up the oasis. And so I'm going to cut the ends of that so that it goes in. And when you put this in, you want to do it very deeply. You want it to get down into that oasis so that it stays nice and fresh. Let me move that over for a minute. I think I'll need to use this again then. Okay, gonna put this up on this brick so that you can see it. But can we tilt? Yeah, can we tilt that just a little bit? Because I can't. That's a little better. Okay, moving it up here. Okay. I thought that was gonna be tall enough. You know, Jenny, there's a little block over there. Can you hand me that, please? I really do want them to see how this is. Okay, can you sit that down in place? Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. But
Thanks,
I
Danny.
want you to be able to see this, okay? All right. Those pieces that I just cut are placed here and here, and they're similar, but when I put that in and I trimmed it, I pushed it again sort of straight down. You don't want to push it in like that, okay? Because it'll make it difficult for you. Now, these little short pieces that you see here, again, you really do want to, and I use always Felcos. I love my Felcos, and I've had them for years. I'm trimming this with that printer, okay? So that it goes nicely into that oasis. Now, here is the benefit of this. I can see the oasis here. But if I push this down very firmly into that, okay. You see, it hides a lot and it keeps you from putting in too many long stems. And so in that way, I will utilize every piece of this. I will continue to cut as I go through, okay? Then let's pick up, oh, there's another wonderful one. I love working with arborvitae, okay? And I will tell you this though before I show you the arborvitae. This is the third progression. I do have the first two things that I put in, and now I'm adding a third one. You can see that I started out with the one green that set the width and the length, and then I added in the beautiful gray, and that's a nice one. Okay. And here again with the arborvitae, which I use for a lot of things, I cut just above a branch there, and then I continue to cut right down the line. Okay. And here is what you can do with this also. Let's say that this is the width of your container, like so. Since you've cut this, you can use this as a filler, like so. Let's show you what I mean by filler. This can become filler, and you'll never see that cut, okay? Pressing it down deep inside. And I'm going to cut this again, and I'll be able to use this one. And I'm going to remove those bottom pieces so that I can press that deeply down inside. But when I put this on, and removing those pieces, when I put this on top, you will never see that cut. And so therefore, you're utilizing every possible piece. Here again, this is how I do this. Cutting it, remove the bottom pieces, and putting this down into here, low, okay? And then with the other piece that I cut, I begin to press this in and fill it in. So those are the beginnings of this, and that is how I cut to take advantage of every possible piece of the greens, okay? Now, this is the finished product. And I really put a lot of different things in here, okay? Maybe more than's necessary. And usually 3 different types of greens are really very nice, but this one has quite a few. So my width is set, my width is set, my length is set, my height is set, and you really want to be able to talk over an arrangement. If it is too tall, then you take it off the table while you're seated for dinner, okay? So I have used all of these, and I have brought into this magnolia, boxwood, and the sapphire, okay? I love using the different colors and textures, but I like this. It works well for me because you've got the fine evergreens here, and then you've got the broadleaf of the boxwood and the broadleaf of the magnolia. So you've got a contrast of color within the evergreens themselves, but you've got a contrast in the texture too, and that makes it interesting. And there is the addition of some berries in this also. This is the winterberry holly, and everybody really does enjoy using that. It's long lasting. We keep that in water also. Now, within that, there are pine cones. And pine cones, I don't go on Instagram. I haven't learned to do that yet, but I do see other things on Facebook pages where pine cones are really, really in. They've always been in with me, okay? But how do you wire them to put them inside? Like so. Can you probably can't see that wire, okay? But it's wired so that it goes easily and stays in place, okay? And I use different gauges of wire. When I'm doing this, I use 26 gauge wire usually for making my bows because it's small wire and you can pull it firmly. The larger the number, the smaller the wire. So as you go down, this is 18 gauge. It's firm enough to hold this pine cone, but it's easy enough for me to work with it too. And so let me see, I want to show you 2 different things. Here we go. You can use both sides of a pine cone. This comes out to this side. I'm pressing this right into that cone, and then I'm twisting that very firmly. Now that is very stable, and that is the back side of the cone. Okay. Now I do have a wire cutter as a part of, fortunately, this. You don't want to ever use your Felcos. And I think I'm going to have to get somebody to sharpen it. I should have brought my wire cutters up here. That's not going to work. Okay. That's all right. We're going to do something else. All right. I want to see the other side. So I'll cut this later. We go right through. We give it a twist 2 or 3 different times. And I'll cut that. Okay. Now you've got pine cones. You've got the reverse side and you got the front side. So you can use it both ways. It's very interesting. And I really do enjoy using those. And you can spray them with a crystal clear glaze if you want to do that. It makes them a little shinier, but I like them in their natural state also. Okay, before we leave this idea here, I want to tell you that this Oasis is wet. When you're working with it, you keep those greens in water while you're working with them. And then when you're using them inside your house, I take these arrangements to my kitchen sink, thoroughly wet down that Oasis again. Let it drain off somewhat before you put it back, okay? Let's show them a couple of this next picture, okay? So we're talking with that one about, yeah, okay, that's good. Thank you, Tammy. That was talking about using things inside the house. Now let's talk about an arrangement that we're going to use outside of the house. Some people call them porch pots, but I don't particularly like that term. I think that they're just wonderful outdoor arrangements, okay? So this one you can see is done in a plastic container, and it has wet oasis inside of it. It can be set into any type of container outside, decorative or whatever. And I do have one here. You'll come back to me, please. Okay. I think I can lift this out. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, this is important. You can see that I've got the wet oasis in here, and I put arborvitae in, and that is the structure of this design, okay? Now, what kind of container are you going to use outdoors? Because it's important. Number one, if any of you have any Mexican pottery outside, I hope you bring it in as soon as possible, because when it gets down to freezing weather, that pottery will break. If you have beautiful ceramic pots outside, or most any kind of pot for that matter, and it's full of just water, and if it holds water, it is likely to break, because that water, when it expands, it has to go somewhere, and it's going to break that pot sometimes, okay? So how you avoid that is to not have a container outside that holds a lot of water, okay? That's why I like to use inserts, particularly if I'm using a ceramic pot or something outside. This one is placed into the plastic. Now, let's say that this is a ceramic piece, okay? The reason this will not break is I am putting this into this container, and there's a lot of space around it. So there's no expansion of the water in this, okay? So it should not break at all. Should not be a problem. If you are not using a plastic container to put inside of something else, then you can also use plastic that will hold water and put into this, okay? And you will have airspace around that, so you won't have any problem with that. You want to have some heavy duty plastic. I think even for some things, you could put your blocks of Oasis inside a 1 gallon Ziploc bag, or good plastic pieces that will hold some water, because you want something in there that will hold some water. Now, if it freezes, don't worry about it. It's not going to be a problem. I have had these arrangements, and our customers, because we do them here, okay? I've had our customers say that they go into February and they're still beautiful when they're outside. That makes a big difference, okay? It's a lot easier to take care of them. Let's go to the next one, Dana.
Hey, we've got a question related to the containers, if you don't mind. We have the
Yes.
Does Merrifield, these containers you're discussing, does Merrifield carry these plastic containers, like maybe ones that don't have holes where you can make the arrangement in the container?
Okay, let me explain that. In most instances, Merrifield Garden Center's 3 locations all have almost the same things, okay? With the trees, the shrubs, the perennials, the annuals, the Christmas decor. There will be some slight variations due to the employees, particularly that are there. And I have always pushed this very, very hard since day one, okay? And we do a lot more of this here at the Fair Oaks location. And we do have those white containers, and we do have a lot of the Oasis, and we do have all the supplies that I will be showing you today. They do have a modified amount of them and a couple of excellent arrangers at each of the other stores also, okay? So I'm not saying that, well, I am saying that we will have those containers, and the other stores may or may not have those containers, okay? I'm gonna sit this down for a minute. So yes, they are available here at this Fair Oaks location, okay? So
Thank you, Peg.
let's look at the next picture, okay, Danny? Yeah, here we go. This is a pair, sort of a matched pair, and it's done with an insert into those terracotta containers. These terracotta containers are well fired, and due to the fact that they have holes in the bottom and they will not fill completely with water, these should be just fine outside, okay? And chances are excellent that when you start with the wet oasis in some sort of container, whether even if it's plastic, okay, you will have these containers go into February, okay? No guarantees, but we've certainly had it happen a great deal. And if we go to the next one, Danny, okay, I brought this picture in because a lot of people have containers outside over the rail containers or out on the deck or by the front entry that have been planted up. This one has a couple of junipers in it, a couple of little upright evergreens, some coral bells, some pansies, but you can really make it more Christmassy if you add some berries just pushed into the soil. Now, I frequently have questions from people that want to know, can they use their soil that's in their pots that doesn't have these things in it, perhaps? For instance, on my back deck, it was been only a couple of nights, which is amazing that we go almost into December without a frost, but that's the case. And so now some of the plants on my deck are dead. Take them out, and I will wet that soil really, really well. And I can then push these stems of the evergreens that have been conditioned, and therefore they will have absorbed all the water possible. I will push them into that wet soil. It is not quite as good as using Oasis outside, but it will work for a long period of time. And if you wet that soil down periodically, so much the better. Again, once things freezes, it doesn't really matter. Okay, Danny, the next one, please. We're going to go through some of these pretty quickly. I love to use a lot of natural materials. And if you are one of those people that has grown a lot of grasses, they really hold up quite well outside, and they can be a nice welcome addition. I have you, this is branches of my euonymus and a lot of the grasses that I grow with wired white pine cones, the magnolia, and it's in a wicker basket. It has an insert in it. Okay, and the next one, Danny. Okay, this one again on my front porch. No, this container is a lovely little metal container, and it likewise has some plastic in it with Oasis, so it's not filled with water, and it came through just fine. This has a lot of holly in it from my own garden, along with a lot of pine cones and a lot of the ornamental grasses, okay? I want word of warning about the holly. I grow several varieties of holly, and I love it. It's beautiful. And the holly and the ivy, okay, both work beautifully in your arrangements. But you may not have indoors, outdoors it's fine, but indoors you may have to replace the holly. If this far out, we're almost a full month out from Christmas still. And so that's a long time to expect holly to last. Hopefully it will, particularly if you keep that oasis moist on the inside, okay? So I just wanted to show you a couple of other pictures. Danny, let's come through with the next one. Here again, mixed evergreens. Similar, very similar to the first one that I showed you. And this has a lawn container on it. Fair warning, and I'll mention this more than once. You want to always protect the surfaces of your furniture, okay? This, I don't want to mess my table up, so under this runner that I have on the table, I have some cork mats from the greenhouse underneath that to hold it up. Okay, you say this container holds water and it's not going to drip on the table. Well, condensation, and you don't want that to happen. So always protect. Some people really do enjoy candles, candle holder things put into your container with the candles in it. And our Advent wreaths certainly have that. I want to stress using great caution when you have candles that are lighted, because it is very easy to be distracted and have those candles burn down, even if the arrangement is fresh and you keep it moist with that oasis. Still, you have to be careful. I really do love using my decorative candlesticks as adjunct to this rather than in the arrangement itself. Now, this was one that I did 2 or 3 years ago, perhaps. And at the end of this program, I hope we have time to show you, because I did some fun things that I want to show you at the end. And I actually have a video that I hope is going to work. Okay, next one, please. Okay, over the mantle is a favorite place to decorate. And I highly recommend that you either use artificial greens over a mantle, particularly if you use the fireplace a lot, because that gets pretty warm, or put your greens into oasis. Now, all of those arrangements, even the ones on the side and the ones on the side, are similar to the outdoor arrangements, okay? Except it's containers that hold water, and you don't have to worry about freezing here because it's inside. Now, those on the mantle, absolutely beautiful. But you can put them low and long. You can line these, let's come back to me, honey. You can line these containers, which is just a little plastic piece that will be hidden, with your oasis. You can put, depending upon the length of your mantle, 1, 2, 3, or 4 if you need it. Not container to container, but separated, okay? Maybe you say you only need 3. And then you'll push those greens in so that they meet if you want it to go the full length. And then at the end, you can even trail down with it, okay? So you can accomplish the same thing with using the wet oasis. A little bit of a warning, though. This is balanced. This is a table arrangement, and it's all the way around. On a mantle, it's going to be somewhat one-sided. So, excuse me. If you're using lightweight plastic, you may have to counterbalance if this is heavy out here, because you don't want it to tip over. I have used a stone, a good-sized rock at the back, to hold this in place. Weight it, in other words, so that it won't tip forward, okay? And that is a highly recommended, okay? Now, let's bring the next one in. I'm just trying to give you some ideas. These are things that I've done over the years. That's the mantelpieces. Then I love boxwood. It lasts beautifully over time. And this has, I've used containers that hold water. They do, underneath that runner, they've got a cork mat that you can buy in the greenhouse to keep that lifted up and keep any condensation off your furniture, okay? And then that oasis is pushed down into that container, but it has a lot sticking up above. And you can formulate that tree just by pruning your boxwood in that fashion. So I have one that's similar to a tree, one that's somewhat rounded, and one that looks a bit like a hedge. Okay, let's go to the next one, Danny. Okay, did you have an Advent wreath? If not, this will be the second Sunday of Advent coming up. And so it's important. It will last hours too. This is done in Oasis. And the idea is to keep it watered well. Take it to the sink every 2 or 3 days and fill that Oasis with water again. Let it drain off and put it back into place. Okay, this has the Advent candles in it, and it has beautiful ribbon in it. I even added for myself some of the little purple balls because glass balls are very in this year also, okay? Now, if we come back to me again, I didn't make this one quite as big, but with the Advent wreath, you could elevate that. I love to use cake stands or something that elevates an arrangement. It could be used even on a dining table. And then when you have dinner, and this is a nice round one, when you have dinner, you can take it off and it's still the proper, see what I've got there, the proper height to be able to talk over and not interfere with conversation when you're having dinner. Now, this has a candle in the middle, okay? And these pillar candles are a little easier to watch than others, okay? They're also, although I don't know how many colors they have these days, but there are newer candles that are automatic that you don't light, okay? You can see that I have left it in the center so that I can do that. Now, one could, there are so many beautiful little poinsettias now. You can even put that in the center. You know, sometimes when you've had a poinsettia for 2 or 3 weeks, the lower leaves, because let's face it, our homes are not the perfect environment for these. And they will, after about 3 weeks, begin to lose some leaves sometime. So to keep those legs attractive as they age, you can hide them, okay? I don't wear shorts anymore, that's for sure, okay? But you do that by placing that inside. Now, if this were an Advent, you could take those purple candles out and sit this inside, okay? And these are a little taller so that they hide those legs. I love to do that, okay? So this one is a tremendous mix of things with a little burgundy ribbon. I love to use the ribbons and all of this also. Okay, we put that candle back. And let's bring this one over because it's has some cryptomeria in it, which is very interesting too. Okay, turn it around because not only do we use a lot of pine cones and natural materials, but we also use a lot of bows. Okay, isn't that a beauty? Oh, I love it. Look, it has blooms down low too. I don't know how they do that, for goodness sakes. So this is taller so that it will hide the legs of a bigger poinsettia. And then this little bow has a wooden pick on it that sticks into place very nicely. And you can then arrange the bow because sometimes in these you make it a little different. It's not the rounded kind of bow perhaps that you might have for a wreath. This is one that you can tuck into into your, and here again, pine cones pushed into place. Okay, well, but yeah, that one came off. I obviously didn't wire that very well, did I? Okay. Actually, I didn't. I wired that at all. I glued it, and that wasn't smart. Wiring it's better. Okay, push this down into place. And isn't that attractive? I like that. Remember, keep it watered. Keep it watered through the season. Okay. You know, Danny, I think that could be a real disaster trying to move it. Well, let's see what happens. Hey, you know what? I don't know how it's gonna work,
Oh,
but can you
yeah.
sit in there?
Oh, yeah, he's not heavy. There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, this is the outdoor arrangement. It could also be an arrangement where you need a large piece inside. For instance, maybe next to a fireplace, okay? This again has that insert with however many blocks of Oasis is necessary to fill whatever insert you're using. And I have used the Arborvitae very much around the bottom, integrating it just a little bit higher. And then I've put in all of this beautiful noble fir in these different areas, okay? All the way around at different levels. This one is falling down a little bit. This one is pushed in. Again, never pushing those stems in like this, but pushing them down. And then adding for a different texture. I love the color pickup between the fir and the sapphire, okay? And I love the contrast of a little of the magnolia. And then we put in the red stems, okay? The bow, again, is not that symmetrical bow that you might use on a wreath, but it's done in such a way that you can manipulate it somewhat, okay? Into that, okay? You could have put, yeah, Danny, I'll let you put it back on. Isn't it wonderful to have these nice muscles around? I love it. I love it. Yes, I do. Okay. So that was the finished one that I showed you the beginning of. Okay, and just another idea or two. Yeah. Okay. We showed you the advent wreath. All right, charcuterie boards. They're so popular today and they're wonderful. But you can do something similar and fun with the Christmas tree, the cut greens Christmas tree. And we do, Norma out here in our annual section really does a magnificent job with these. And it's actually the use of the block of Oasis, a full block of the Oasis turned sideways, which I'll show you in a moment. But in the meantime, these are the picks that you can buy at the grocery store. And I've just put a few tomatoes and some cheeses, but you can put different types of cheeses in and a lot of other things too. You could even take apart the little broccoli and cauliflower florets and put those on picks. And you can put some sort of little dip next to it. And it's a conversation piece. So I think it's fun, okay? So come back to me, Danny. This is into one of those little plastic containers. Full block of Oasis. You set the height with your piece here. You set the width here. You come in between them and you set the length here all the way around. And then you begin to fill in with the different heights. It's really not terribly complicated. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know. And then you can put little bows in it. And the little bows are wonderful because they go in with those stems. I have an extra one over here somewhere. Here we go. Yeah. All you do is wire it onto these You'll be able to see that. And that pushes right into the wet oasis. Okay. I think that we are now ready for the how-to of my fun thing that I just did at my own home. And I did this because I wanted to show you how it would look in Suchu, in the right situation, okay? Now, I have a very modest home, and this is pretty good sized, and it wasn't the easiest thing to film, but I think that you'll get the point anyway. And I want to show you the mechanics. I believe that's the next picture that's coming up. If not, we'll talk about whatever. All right, we did. Okay, this is a nice big board. It has a table runner. Underneath that table runner, I have some cork rounds from the greenhouse. That is to be absolutely sure that no condensation or anything gets on my wooden table, okay? I'm going to build on this. I decided, because I did something for Thanksgiving that I enjoyed very much with a lot of fresh fruits. And I thought, I want to do something Christmassy. And so I used this footed glass bowl, which holds water, and I put just the one piece of the one brick of Oasis in it. I wanted to be sure that I would be able to re-wet this every 2 or 3 days without taking it to the sink because it was going to be too heavy to do that. And so I did not want to fill that whole area. I didn't need to anyway, because the lengths of the stems that I pushed into it worked. And then I wanted it to be nice and long. And so with those little plastic bowls, I cut Oasis in half. It's all wet. And I placed it just slightly under the edge of each side. Now, I did not want to put those candles directly in the Oasis. I wanted them to be separate. And so I'm incorporating my candles into that. Danny, let's go to the next one, okay? So this is the actual, the best I could do, actually, with the camera in that situation, okay? This is not totally finished, but mid the process, okay? Let's
You
see.
want me to play it?
It is the video, yes. Is this a video?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I did it before I completed the other, okay. I did come back and add some interesting, you can see how I worked that, okay, and incorporated a couple of poinsettias. But you can see that I did not totally fill that area. I wanted to be able to get into it and water it, and I didn't want it to be a mass of greens. I wanted it to be in and out, and those are small poinsettias that I actually tucked into the Oasis, okay? And I've used a lot of pine cones. I did come back in and add some really interesting ornaments, okay? And here again, even those poinsettias in that container has a rounded cork board underneath it, okay, to keep it safe. But this will go into Christmas season, through the Christmas season, provided I keep it moist. And I will be very careful adding water to this. Actually, I can take those small containers to the sink and water them. I will not try to move the big one, but it is made in such a way that I can water it easily without worrying about overfilling it and having it come out onto my table. Okay, let's see what's next, Debbie. No, that's that same video, right? There's another one coming up, I
Yeah.
think. Okay, then in my kitchen area, I have an old table. It was made from an old door. It's very rough. And then I found this big bronzy container that I decided I wanted to use. And so I put my Oasis inside of there, And then I had a cute little surround for my pillar candle, and I put that in the center. I just set it into place, okay? So let's see what came out of that, Danny. All right, this is, I have, as I told you, a modest home. A family room, pretty large kitchen, dining space, all open, and I have a Vermont casting stove there, which is fantastic, and I really keep that thing going a great deal. Unfortunately, I have lost a number of beautiful old oak, and so I have a lot of firewood, and I use it, believe me. But the area can be pretty warm, so I want to emphasize the fact that you really do need to keep this oasis moist. Doing these things is not inexpensive, and it's time consuming, and you want to enjoy it for the full season if possible. But in order to do that, do it in oasis, because if you just lay greens down without being in water, um, they're not going to last very long, not when you've got a warm environment. Okay, so I added some ornaments to this. Again, it has a runner. I have a mixture of some little candles there and the taller ones. So I think that's a video also, Danny. I hope so. So I tried to show you a little closer. These are really old ornaments that I've had for so many years, hand painted ones. But I even just laid some of the attractive cones down on the table. But you can see the contrasts of color. This is some of that Cripsey, and has the golden touch to the evergreen that's in there, a nice contrast. And I can burn these candles safely. I don't have to worry about them burning into the foliage at all. Now, again, I use some of my holly from, this is the Burford holly, and I use that from my garden. And I think it'll be okay, but if not, I'll have to take it out and put something more in, you know? But hopefully, this will inspire you to try some of these natural materials and get carried away with what you're doing, okay? I think we'll enjoy these right through the holidays. Okay. That pretty much wraps up. I went a little quicker than I anticipated. Um, Hopefully, I didn't go too quickly. And if we do have questions, let's do a few, okay?
All right, we've got questions. Everybody, if you have more questions, please feel free to submit them. We'll get to as many as we can. All right, first question. Would you be able to go back over how you condition your greens when people get their greens?
Absolutely. Very important is to, if you're doing it from your home, cut your greens, bring them into the house, put them into lukewarm water, and let them stay in that water until you're ready to arrange with them, okay? That gives them the opportunity to absorb all the moisture possible and keep it in place. Otherwise, they're not as likely to go the full 4 weeks or even beyond, okay? So, and even if you're doing fresh flowers in the summertime, that's what you do. You cut them, you immediately put them into some lukewarm water, and for these to absorb everything they need to, they need at least a couple of hours, okay? But they can stay in that water. I'm going to have a little bit of a workshop with my daughters and granddaughters this weekend, and I have cut some greens and put them just outside the sliding glass door of my basement. And they've been there for several days, and they'll stay there until we have the opportunity to use them, because I love to pass these things on. I've done it for my daughters. I have done it for my older granddaughters, and now I'm going to be able to do it with all of them, including the two little great granddaughters. Now, you would be surprised what the 4-year-old and the 6-year-old can do. They made Advent wreaths last weekend and did a marvelous job of it. So they were very proud of it, and I'm very proud of them. So teaching them is such an important thing. So conditioning, lukewarm water, leave it there until you're ready to work with it. Yes.
Alrighty, perfect. Peg, that's so fun that you do that with your family. I just love that. All right, next question. Earlier on in the presentation, I think it was the one picture I missed because I was messaging someone, but there was an arrangement that had magnolia, boxwood, and one other thing. Do you remember that one?
It has magnolia. Well, I could look around and see that the finished product here that I did
I'm
for
wondering if it was the sapphire.
sapphire. Absolutely, yes. Carolina sapphire. Now that's a store-bought one for us here, okay? But we do have it out here. This has the sapphire. It has the noble fir. This is where's the noble fir? Here. This is the noble fir, okay? Obviously the magnolia, and this is the boxwood, okay? It also has some arborvitae in it.
Okay.
Answer the, or
All
was
right,
that
next. Yeah, I think that answers the question. If
okay?
if that did not answer, then let us know. We'll try and think of it. But that should cover it. Is it possible to put poinsettias in outdoor arrangements?
Absolutely not. Unless
Okay.
you're in Florida, maybe.
Well, yeah, we're in Florida, yes. Not where you guys are.
They would die. They're trouble.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's see. Oh, Peg is so talented, such stylistic flair. You are. I love that. Thank you. Um, that was a comment. Next question. Do you have any thoughts on how to make fresh garland last? I know it doesn't do well indoors, but is there a way to preserve it to use it indoors a few days before Christmas?
No, not really. No,
Okay.
no. It's difficult to do. It will dry out. There's no doubt about it. Inside, I highly recommend using artificial. Now, one year for Bob and Billie Jean Warhurst, owners of the company, co-owners, I did a marvelous garland of their beautiful staircase using magnolia, just magnolia, down that all the way up, and what it dried out, absolutely dried out. But, oof, that one's in too firmly. I don't think I can get it out. Anyway, it completely dried out, but this was brown backed magnolia. And so it was still beautiful. And I took it down that year and I sprayed carefully all the green side with gold, and then it was gold on the one side and bronze on the other, and hung it and used it the next year. Would you believe? Of course, she had this beautiful closet area that we stored it, hung it in, and then took it out and put it right back on there, and it was magnificent. But you couldn't do that with needled evergreens; they'd fall on the floor. Okay.
Yeah.
No, there's no real way. We do help because we dip it here, and it somewhat seals the moisture in, and that helps, but it's not perfect. Okay, for indoors.
Okay.
Outdoors is fine.
Got it. Okay. Let's see. Do you add anything to your water to help make the greens last longer, or do you only use water?
For some reason or other, I'm having a little difficulty understanding.
Yeah, it's fine. I know we need to get you a new speaker for your side. Do
Okay,
you use any product in the water to keep the greens fresh? I think I see that bottle. Yeah.
Prolong. Use it according to the directions. It helps to kill some of the bacteria and so forth in there. And thank you for mentioning that. I had it sitting here and forgot to do it. Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Perfect. All righty. Sorry. Cool air's getting me. Do you feel that Calicarpa, like Beauty Berry, does that hold up in an arrangement?
Beauty Berry, fairly well. I don't think it holds up quite as well as the winterberry
Okay.
does, but certainly you would try it. Yeah, and if it's from your own garden, enjoy it as long as possible. The birds will probably harvest that before very long. And when you take it out, replace it maybe with some winterberry.
Okay. All right, we just have a couple more questions, so we'll do those and then we are done. Do you need to do anything to treat the pine cones that you collect from outside?
Well, it is advisable to do that. Sometimes I
Well,
do, sometimes I don't, but I
have
have
some
to give it a slight chance.
surprise little creepy crawlies.
You can line a sheet with foil because you don't want, particularly with the white pine cones. There's a lot of sap on those. Okay, the little ones like this aren't so sappy. Okay, but you line it with foil and put your pine cones in it. Take out the top part of your oven if you've got it. Do not overstack this. You don't want to start a fire in this thing, okay? You don't want to touch the burner. Let's say it's electric stove, okay? Or even gas, whatever. Any of it. And then put it on low, like 225 for 25 or 30 minutes. And that's it. That will have killed any little buggies in it already. And
Okay.
it will also have melted uh, when you're handling fresh white pine cones. You'll get the sap on your hands. And when you process it this way in the oven, it melts that sap and it's easier to handle without getting your hands all sticky.
Okay. All right, last question. Do you anchor your oasis in a long, shallow container like your first sample?
Well, I didn't, I haven't, and I've not had any problems, but I know one of our designers downstairs always anchors it. And you anchor it with a tape, okay? Yeah,
Okay.
and that works fine. I don't do it because it restricts sometimes where I put my things in, and I've not had it to be a problem. Now, going back, if you're doing a tree and you've got that horizontally, absolutely tape that both directions because that's different. Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All righty. Well, that's all of our questions, Peg. Um, you got some nice comments that people enjoyed your class. I always do. Um, so I think that's it. Do you have anything you want to close with? Any information about the store, Christmas decorations?
Just have a safe, happy, healthy Christmas.
That's perfect. All right. Well, Peg, thank you so much. I look forward to this class so much, and I know everybody else does too. So have a great afternoon, and everybody, please feel free to come into the store and enjoy the Christmas shop.
People are working on this all the time.
Yeah, it's like a
Making the wreaths. I should have brought one of those beautiful wreaths because they're so gorgeous.
yeah, it's like Christmas Wonderland there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have a good afternoon. I'll see you later, Peg.
Bye bye.
Bye.